The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida. The Directory Dial-Up, where you meet Florida's podcasting talent. This is Jemmy with the Florida Podcast Network, and I'm so excited to be bringing you another edition of the Directory Dial-Up, a series where we introduce you to the podcasting talent right here in Florida by spotlighting different podcasters who have submitted their shows to our directory. You can find our directory, by the way, by going to floridapodcastdirectory.com. Find the shows originating from your own backyard with the interactive pin map there. On this episode, representing Ocala,
Yay, Ocala, horse country.
I am
horse capital of the world.
Less proud because he's just a dork, but I'm very proud to say that he's become one of my best friends, Mr. Glenn the Geek. Welcome, Glenn.
Hi, Jemmy.
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh my gosh,
it's good here in the horse capital of the world.
So you have been a sideline guest like 2 or 3 times on Curve the Cube, my old show, but you've never been like the spotlight guest, believe it or not, in any episode of mine. So welcome to the show. This is a moment.
Well, that's not true. We have a show we do together that I'm kind of a spotlight on.
This is true.
I'm
You're
actually
kind of
the
important.
celebrity, and you're just there.
You're a dork. You're such a dork. But anyways, you've been podcasting successfully for 10, 15 years? How long has it been now? What is the actual...
We started in 2008. We're just going to have our 10th year birthday.
Okay, so right around the 10-year mark. So happy early anniversary.
Yeah, we just passed 6,800 episodes yesterday.
Oh my gosh, and every podcaster who's listening's jaw just dropped on the floor with that number. That's insane. But you founded the Horse Radio Network. It's one of the most successful independent podcast networks, if not the most successful. I don't think we have any firm hardcore numbers on that, but it's really successful. How many shows? What's the actual show count? I think it's at least, 17?
I think it's 17 right now.
17. Yeah. That's insane. I don't even know how you manage all that. But you're also now working on a show for Purina. It's going to be coming out called the Horse Nutrition Podcast. So that'll be coming out next month or so.
Yep. And you're helping with that?
I am. I get to edit. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. And it's Purina's branded show. So we're pretty stoked about that, that they're doing their branded show on our network.
I know. It actually is a really, really cool. When you told me about the opportunity, because it was months ago that you got the first email, and I said, oh my gosh, you're kidding. That's amazing. So it's really exciting to see. I've seen the whole process now, so it's cool. But I think last year you made the best decision that you've ever made in your whole entire podcasting career when you decided to hire me for the Horse
I did. That was
Network.
True. I agree. It was the best decision.
So what was the better decision? Getting started as a podcaster in the first place or hiring me?
Hiring you because of you, my wife and I get to go on vacation next week, which we haven't been able to do in a long time. So,
in fact, I think when this episode drops, you'll be seeing some Alaska glaciers up front and personal. Look at you.
Yeah, whales and glaciers and bears, and it's all because of you're going to be home working and we're going to be vacationing.
Wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture here. I don't like it.
It's perfect.
Something's wrong.
I love it.
Oh my gosh! All right, so you have as you mentioned, a bajillion shows, and 4 of them are in our directory, so let's get laser focused on those 4.
Only 4?
I know, right? I've only put... Well, I can't have the whole entire directory taken up by horses. Come on, there has to be a limit to everything. But the first one is Driving Radio, which I know is in transition right now. Let's tell everybody about that.
Yeah, that's a show we've had for 7 years about carriage driving, and it's done by fellow Floridian. Dr. Wendy and is my co-host, and we're actually moving that to one day. It's going to become an episode a month on our most popular show, Horses in the Morning. So we're transitioning that over right now. Wendy's been doing this for 7 years. She's an active veterinarian, so she's pretty busy, and this way it'll go to, instead of twice a month on Driving Radio Show, it'll go to once a month as part of Horses in the Morning. Which
speaks to all about the importance of being open to evolution, no matter what you're doing, right?
Well, and it also speaks to the importance of you're running a business. You have to always do things that are good for the bottom line of the business. And, you're making decisions that maybe you don't want to make sometimes because you're in business.
That's true. So you mentioned Horses in the Morning, which now Driving is going to become an episode on that. So what is Horses in the Morning? What I love about that show, well, I won't spoil it. What is Horses in the Morning?
It's the only live 5-day-a-week morning drive radio show for the horse world.
Oh, my gosh.
So we are on an hour and a half every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern on horsesinthemorning.com. And we are there 5 days a week. We've been doing that show. It's our 8th year, and we're approaching 2,000 episodes here in the next month, I think. So if you figure that out, we figured it out the other day. If you listen to that show 24 hours a day, it'll take you almost the next year to hear it.
Plenty of time. Talk about a binging experience. Let's all do it. I'm in. It should be a club. You do have one listener I know of, Rhonda, who's listened to every episode, but that's across the entire network, right?
She's listened to every episode of every show. So if she's our legacy listener, I haven't listened to every episode.
You're insane.
Yes. You met Rhonda.
Yeah, I did on the cruise. And so the horses in the morning, what made you decide to do a live show? So that's completely different than what most podcasters do. Most podcasters do what we're doing right now, pre-recording, and stay in the comfort of the edit zone.
And we wouldn't have to do it live. There are very few listeners in relation to the whole audience that actually listen live. We do it live because it has a feel.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do a morning drive radio show, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to work. So I didn't want to actually have to go to a radio station and to have a job.
So switches in your own house. There you go.
Right. So after I started, we had like 3 podcasts going at the time. I said I always wanted to do this and started searching for the right co-host. My shows are all dependent on having the right hosts first and foremost.
Right.
And then found Jamie, and it was like, okay, let's give this a shot. We'll do it for 6 months, and here we are 8 years later. It is our most popular show. It's our most profitable show. To be honest, without that, that show really funds the whole entire network. We could eliminate every other show and still run the network on the financial side with the profits from that show. Mm-hmm. But also, that show really supports the other shows, and the other shows support that show. They all kind of work together.
Yeah. And what I really love about Horses in the Morning, so for any podcasters out there who want a quick degree in podcasting, listen to Horses in the Morning. The reason is because if you want to learn about building segments, you can learn about that listening to Horses in the Morning. If you want to learn about how to incorporate ad content, listen to Horses in the Morning. If you want to learn about how to switch up and play off each other and have good chemistry with your co-hosts, listen to Horses in the Morning. Really, it's a blueprint. Even though it's different in that it's live, it's a blueprint for elements of podcasting that everybody can learn from. So listen to Horses in the Morning. That's my big.
Well, and we've learned a lot over 2,000 episodes too. I mean, we have learned a lot, and we do a lot more shorter segments than we used to. We do a lot less longer interviews than we used to, but we still have to fill in an hour and a half every day. So, there's that. One of the things that we did learn, and I know we're not going to go too long here today, but it's the lesson across all of the shows, is the shows are about the hosts. It's not about the content. People come for the content and they stay for the hosts. Mm-hmm. If your hosts are boring, they're going to go. Mm-hmm. If your hosts are not interesting, they're going to go. Mm-hmm. If the content is there and you have really good hosts, they're going to stay. Right. So they come for the content, they stay for the hosts. You have to good content, but you also have to have terrific hosts.
That's true.
It's one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be doing Finding Florida with you. You are a terrific host.
Oh, well, thank you.
And but that's true.
And here's your $50.
People are listening to us go around doing shows about travel, then they're not along. Yeah. And everybody hates listening to the travel stories of your family when they come back from vacation. That's what we're doing on that show. And people listen because they like the hosts.
It's true.
And that's so I know I get a 30-second rant later. It was going to be my rant anyway. So don't be boring was my rant.
All right. So. And also in the directory is the Stable Scoop Show, which is your longest running show, right?
Yeah, that's our flagship show. That was our first show, August 2008. And that show has seen transitions over the years. My host of 9 years just left. She got a real job. And she left. She got a full-time. Yeah, I know. And I changed that show. We've changed the way that the content of that show several times over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. That's the one show that we really wanted to mix it up and try new things. So if there was something that we wanted to try to podcast, we tried on that show.
So Stable Scoop is kind of like your HRN Petri dish. Test out different.
It is. It is, actually.
See how things grow.
Yep, and that's right. And we've taken some of the things we've learned from Stable Scoop, moved it over to Horses in the Morning. We've kept some of the things that we do on Stable Scoop that we've done for 10 years.
Interesting.
And again, it's segments, and it's just, do they work? Do they not? what do the numbers look like? Are numbers going up, going down?
Yeah.
Are sponsors there? And that's the other thing, we always have to be looking at.
So talking about numbers going up, I'm so excited because the numbers of our show are going up, and I'm giddy.
Yes, they are.
Oh my gosh, I'm so giddy. So I will let you introduce the listeners to Finding Florida.
Well, Finding Florida is a travel show. Mm-hmm. It's a travel adventure show that's kind of different than any of the others we found out there, in that we actually go, a lot of travel shows interview people. They just call up and interview people. I didn't want that. You didn't want that. We really wanted to get out and do these things. Mm-hmm. So much of our lives are involved of being at the desk in front of these microphones in the studio. We wanted to go out and actually do these things, record it, make it a fun adventure, and entice Floridians as well as people outside of Florida. But our target market here was Floridians to figure out, to hear about things that are in their own backyard and then to go do them.
Because we're all guilty of that. We all miss doing things that are right around us. And in Florida, there's just so
You
much
grew up in Fort Lauderdale. We just did Fort Lauderdale.
And
I bet
you're about to out me.
You probably didn't do any of those things.
Well, no, Mai Kai, I had been on to Mai Kai for a first date once years ago. But yeah, no, everything else, Bonnet House, Jungle Queen, all that stuff I hadn't done before. So
you grew up there.
It is exciting. And what's also awesome is being a mom, I get to explore these things and then keep telling Jordan I'm going to bring him along too at one point or another one day.
And we did. We brought him along in his first 6-year-old adventure.
He went to Mai Kai and he loved it. So it does happen. And I was explaining, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day who's looking for something to do with her grandson. And those types of conversations, to be able to build those around the show, it's so exciting. So yeah, we love it. And
now I will say for podcasters out there, this show is our most, you and I both, most time-consuming show. Mm-hmm. One, doing it. It was probably in the beginning our costliest show too, because we spent a lot of money doing it.
It was.
But we knew that would come back, and it's starting to do that. I really believe that show is going to be on the business side, is going to be our most profitable show in a year.
Yeah. And so,
of any of the shows.
I agree. And so for listeners who want to build a show that speaks to a very local target audience, which I know you said many times is the future of podcasting, is nichiness and local shows, which we certainly are. So if you want to learn about how to build a local show, Finding Florida is, I'm willing to pat ourselves on the back here. We're doing a really good job reaching out.
I'm willing to pat you on the back. You have done an excellent job with the marketing of that show.
Oh, well, thank you. I tried. But no, I mean, it's all about social media. It's all about, but it's not just putting a message out on your own feed, on your own whatever. It's about connecting with other accounts, connecting with other people, getting involved in what they're doing online and participating. That's how you get known. It's
about connecting. And in our case, we get to connect personally, face-to-face, which makes a world of difference.
It really
does.
It really does. And and the thing is that all of that branches out for what we're doing. So no matter what you're doing as a podcaster, look for the people in your industry, in your target, and actually get to know them face to face. It can make a huge difference. I know Danny Pena has worked that out when it comes to building the community of listeners for his show. He's used that. We're using it for building the network, and not only our community, but also the people who are going to connect us to help out with the show. So it's very important. Get out there and
I did it for 10 years with Horse Radio Network.
Yeah, you do.
Going to events and trade shows and
100%.
And you know what? The advertisers that are on all of my shows, we have 32, I think, currently, advertisers. And they all have come from trade shows and events.
Yeah. And so speaking of advertisers, easy transition here to just say, quick plug for the network's media kit. We have a new media kit available. So anybody who's interested in having a show, becoming a partner, sponsoring a show on the Florida Podcast Network, we have that now available. But I want to say and make a big announcement, speaking of the network, that, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Not only is Glenn the Geek, let's see, one of my best friends, my co-host on Finding Florida, my boss at Horse Radio Network, but he can now add one more title to his list of annoying relationships with Jemmy, and that is, drumroll please, what are you, Glenn?
I'm a cooperator.
You're a cooperator. Yay! All right, so everyone's like, what does that mean? What that means is he is now an official team member of the Florida Podcast Network. He signed on the dotted line, and I'm so excited that he's going to be helping me build this network into an even bigger and better thing than I could have ever imagined. So thank you, Glenn. I'm so excited to have you on board. What are you, the Chief Fun Officer? I think
I'm the Chief Fun Officer.
He's the Chief Fun Officer, the CFO.
That's right. I'm the CFO, Chief Fun Officer, because I couldn't do finances. So I did fun.
That's right. And I'm not doing finances either, so I don't know what that says about the network.
I don't know where we're going to be.
We'll see what happens. All righty. With that announcement, it is time, Glenn, for your 30-second soapbox. Are you ready? I know you kind of did one earlier, but we need to do an official one.
I have to do a different one now.
Yeah, you have to do a different one.
Okay, I have a different one.
You ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Wait a minute, I got to start my timer.
Got to start your timer. Got to get your timer ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm going to give you a 30-second soapbox. If you could knock everyone on the head and get them to understand one thing about a message you're passionate about, what would it be? Go.
It is not who you know, it's who knows you. And that has become evident to Jemmy and I in the last 3 weeks to 4 weeks in building the Florida Podcast Network. It's not, let me say it again, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Doesn't matter who you know, they have to know who you are. So make sure people find out who you are. Be out there, be in front of them, let them know who you are. That's the most important thing.
Well done with like a whole second to spare and stuff. Listen to that. That's awesome. Good for you. All right. That is the 30-second soapbox. And I know that we met at PodFest. That's one example. There are meetup groups, all kinds of different ways that you can get known and interact with people in podcasting, in other industries.
In your niche.
In your niche. That's right. So, alrighty. So thank you so much for having all of those shows in the directory. I may or may not have submitted them myself, but whatever. details. But other than our directory, how can people find your shows and get in touch with you?
HorseRadioNetwork.com, FindingFloridaPodcast.com.
That's right, baby. Thank you, Glenn. Stop taking over my show.
Let's have it.
Gosh. All right. Starting over.
3.
Don't cut. I cut.
I hope you keep that. Don't cut. I cut. That was so funny.
3, 2, 1.
It is not who knows you. Cut.
I haven't started it yet. I do a whole intro.
Oh, I didn't know.
Don't cut. I cut.
Reset.
Are y'all ready? Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Cut.
Stop. Cut it.
Why do I like pissing you off so much?
I don't know. I'm really good at it. Thanks for checking out another edition of the Directory Dial-Up. Meet this podcaster and other local podcasting talent in the Florida Podcast Directory. Or if you are a podcaster based in Florida yourself, submit your show. Simply head to floridapodcastdirectory.com to check out shows or for more information.